Welcome to the Troubled Artists Podcast, Episode 19, Bria Rose.
Welcome back to the Troubled Artists Podcast. Today I am here with author Bria Rose. Bria Rose is an indie author with a passion for writing dark romance, fairy tale retellings. Disney has been a part of her life since she was young, and she even had the opportunity to work at Disneyland for several years. When the COVID pandemic brought her Disney journey to an end, she discovered a new passion, which was writing, and then inspiration struck when she imagined a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and then 2 years later she published Her Dark Promise on Halloween of 2024. So thank you again, Bria, for being on the show. So before we begin, I do like to ask this question. Tell us in your own words, who is Bria Rose?
Anime lover, travel bug, girly, got bit by the travel bug, and I guess a jack of all trades. I like to do a lot of different things.
I'm glad that you're doing what you love. But I am curious to know just how you got into a writer in the first place. Was it something that you discovered like early in life or later on in life? Just why don't you tell us about that?
I kind of started back in high school with my friend. We wrote our kind of like first book. It was more mapping it out, saying like, oh, would it be really cool to write a book? And on and off for the next like 12 years, since high school. I'm not trying to age myself, but, on and off, we were kind of just like working on it, and I wanted to kind of get back into it. But it wasn't until probably like 25, 26 where I'm like, you know what? I think I kind of got bit by this writing bug. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why now, but something inside of me was like, pick the book back up. So I ended up writing the rest of the story, like from start to finish, in like 3 months. Gave it to my friend. I'm like, okay, editing time, let's go. And she's like, actually, I have other things that I just don't have time for this. And I'm like, okay, well, shoot, I do. I want this to be a thing. Like I feel like there's like this innate desire. Like if I don't write, if I don't get the stories out, then something's bad's gonna happen. Like I have to write. So I decided to write my own story that was inspired by Beauty and the Beast, which is, Her Dark Promise. And it took about 2 years to kind of write. And now I'm on this crazy journey.
Yeah, like it's just great just to hear the story of just like how people discovered their passion. It's a really great feeling. I want to get into some of those questions that I sent you before. I guess the first one being, because we mentioned that you did work at Disneyland for several years. So how did working at Disney influence your storytelling style?
So we all know that Disney is very heavy on the storytelling. And I just feel like when you are on stage, which for those who don't know, if you're anywhere where a guest can see you, that is on stage, and you have to be smiley and like very hi everyone, and it's like the Disney persona that Disney is very well known for. When you are dealing with little kids who are dressing up as their favorite character, you just you come up with these crazy stories, and I just think for after years of constantly daily come up with like different ways for the characters to kind of like sorry I kind of lost my train of thought. So I was a photo fast photographer at Disney, so working with the characters, sometimes they have to go off stage to have their breaks, and I'm like, okay guys, Mickey and Minnie will be right back. They're gonna go have some tea with their friends, and they'll so you're creating these stories all the time to keep the magic alive. And I just feel like that really helped with the imagination, the creative process, just always coming up with stories every single day for years. I feel like that definitely has an impact.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been a fan of Disney as well. Like I love like their films, and Pixar animation in general just has always been just a great storytelling experience. Because I remember just people see like animated films and they think like, oh, it's just for kids. A lot of them, they have these themes of it that resonate with both kids and adults. I do want to know just like, what is your overall writing process like when you like have an idea for a book and then you just want to start writing it? Like, what is that process like?
So because I'm so new to this whole writing thing, a lot of people are like, oh, you're supposed to outline first and then you write. So you know exactly what you're doing. Well, that didn't really work out for me. I tried that and then I tried planning things. And so I have come to realize that I'm not a planner. I can only write what's in my head. If I can't like see it clearly, I can't write it. Which is unfortunate. I would love to be a planner, so I know exactly how my story is going to go, but I want to consider myself also like a reader of my own story as I'm writing it because then sometimes they surprise me. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? So I want to say definitely more of a, it just kind of comes in my head. I have the, sorry, my voice was doing a little something so silly. It just, there's pictures in my head. There's literally a movie in my head, and I just tell their story. I feel like I'm a middleman. I'm like a medium of stories.
Yeah, like it's just really cool to hear that process. People, I know people that like try to plan out like every single little thing, and some people they just kind of just jump right in and to see just where the story takes them. But yeah, you mentioned like, sometimes there's like a movie playing in your head. That's kind of how my way of thinking is as well, like I see something and it's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this happened and then with that thing and then this and that. So, it's just cool to have that because, other people could look at that and just, they not think much of it. But then with other people, it's like, oh, like, what, I could do this and that. But yeah, but it again, people, have that thought or people just kind of going and writing, that's just what's great about being an artist, just like the different style and the process that we have.
Yeah, there's
Um,
so many styles. I definitely also love brainstorming with people, and another thing that I do, I don't do anything in order. So I kind of go with the ones that I can see clearly in my head, and I call the fillers, the like the more boring parts, kind of like how do we get from, for example, our two characters. What is their meet cute? How do they meet? And then how do they get to the next thing? How do they get to the part where I want them to go? So one of my stories, there's a quest, but they have the two characters, they have to meet first. Well, I have their meet cute and I have the quest. How do I get her to agree to him wanting to go on the quest with her, even though she's like not interested? So I'm like, okay, shoot. So poisoning happens, it's just kind of crazy to kind of get from point A to point B. But I'm more of like a puzzle piece. Like I have this scene and this scene and this scene. Okay, how do I put those together? Do I even still need some of these scenes? So it's definitely more as a puzzle because sometimes, like I said, when the writer's block hits, I cannot write and I cannot write in order at all. I've tried, unless inspiration and I can see it. Yeah.
so you did mention that you do a lot of traveling. So I was curious to know, like, how do your travels shape the worlds and the characters in your books?
Great question. When I write books, so and I say that as if I've written like 10 books or something like that, but I have found that with my fairy tale retellings, I really want to do the research behind the location, behind the culture, all those things. And I've been to so many countries and states now, all over Europe, Mexico, like Cancun, specifically Cabo. So I have got to be in the culture. I've got to be immersed in the culture, especially like in Europe. Both times I've gone, I've been there a total of a month each. So I've been in Europe a total of 2 months, so you kind of really get to see what everyone's like. How does the ground feel? How's the architecture? What does their world, another culture, like what does everything look like? Because I feel like if I hadn't, then I wouldn't really be able to appropriately convey like what these places feel like, not just look like, but are they more standoffish? Do they, like Americans, when we pass somebody, we always look at the other person and kind of like nod or say hi when we don't want to. I just feel like that's just what Americans do. And I've come to learn like other cultures don't do that. Like French, I don't know, you're a stranger. So there's just certain things that unless you just go and experience or someone tells you, you just don't know. And so, like I said, I do a lot of research and I really try to bring that culture's location and customs and things like that, food, everything, language. I do have one regret with my book that I didn't. The maman, I think that's how you pronounce it, is mother in for French people, and so I in my book I said mother. And I'm like, I wish I would have changed it to that word to make it a little bit more, and not inclusive, but just a little more just Frenchy vibes. And I really try to do my best. But that's definitely how travel has inspired me. Just really want to bring these, because a lot of people aren't going to travel in their life, and that's just really sad to me. So I want people to feel like they are in France for my being the beach retelling. I'm working on a Pinocchio story, so I want them to feel like they're in Italy, things like that.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. I mean, yeah, it's just, there's a whole nother world out there, and if you're lucky enough to travel, yeah, just do it, even if you're not a writer, an artist or anything, just go out and experience the world, I've had the pleasure of also being able to travel, and I've visited places, I've been to Mexico and London, so I do want to talk about, because you do like these fairy retellings. Why do you think that dark romance appeals more today than the classic fairy tales?
I think that people my age, because I don't want to single out, just women, people of all age, races, genders, everything. I just feel like my specific age, we're all Disney adults. We grew up with Disney and like the height of the Disney princesses and this amazing influx of like awesome movies. And also the classics, my generation was definitely, Lion King and Tarzan, just gosh, some of those musical scores just blow me away. um, I also feel like as Disney adults have grown up, we have realized that we want someone, of course, we'd like the hero, but the hero would, you know, kind of like sacrifice you for the world. Whereas dark romance kind of goes more to the morally gray characters where they would burn the world for you. So, as women, people in general, uh, who are choosing partners that don't choose them, they want to kind of go into this fantasy world and get that fix from our fictional characters. Like, oh, my man wouldn't he wouldn't say that I was being too much. If someone was being mean to me, he would stand up for me. If there's so many situations where the the I always want to say women, but people in general, they want their partner to step up for them, help clean. There's just a lot that fictional characters can give us that sometimes we don't get in our personal lives. So we just want to be worshipped and be picked first and chosen. Like I said, I just feel like a lot of people nowadays don't have that. So I think that's kind of like where the dark romance kind of comes in. Or even if they do, their partners, they get like the benefits from their partners reading these types of books. But it's just an escape, something that, it's real. I feel like there's depth to these characters and to situations that I get, I'm not saying like young adult or like other genres can't have the same type of depth, but with dark romance, I always say like I always sprinkle in definitely like a lot of traumas for my characters, but that makes them real, something that everyone goes through. Not everyone has gone through like child abuse, or there's certain things that people go through that people can connect with, and seeing these types of characters also be able to overcome those obstacles, I feel also gives hope to people that they can also do that. And then of course people who, I don't want to get too into it, but abused in other ways, it's another way to kind of take back your autonomy and in a safe space. So there's a lot of different reasons why people do enjoy dark romance.
And like you said, yeah, like people could resonate with a lot of the themes and the messages in it. And I mean, that's again, that goes for all artists, whether it's the films you make, the books you write, the paintings that you draw, they all have like these hidden messages or themes behind them. And, having that power to influence other people that see your work, and giving them these whole different perspectives, So I do want to talk about, this latest book that you have, Her Dark Promise. If you could maybe get into a little bit more detail on that, or how the writing process was that for that book. Why don't you just tell us about that, and also just like any other projects that you have or books that you have in the works.
Awesome. So Her Dark Promise is a dark romance. Why choose Beauty and the Beast retelling with a twist, where Belle is the Beast. Beast and Gaston are brothers, get trapped in her castle. I've added 2 new characters and I've taken out the magical instruments. So it's basically just a woman alone in the Forbidden Forest in her castle. She's cursed to be alone and unloved forever. And of course, that is until her found family starts to slowly trickle in after over 3 centuries of being alone. So she's a little crazy. But she has a reason. When you read it, hopefully, excuse me, you'll understand. The writing process again, took about 2 years to write. And let me tell you, the first rough draft, or really the first draft in general, is a completely different story than what this one is today. And I'm so thankful to my editor. Every podcast I always have to shout her out because she's amazing. Erin. Hi, Erin. But she's definitely turned into a really good friend. And I definitely feel like she helped me to understand what writing a book not takes, but the nuances and how to create these dynamic characters and to trust myself. She's like, girl, you do a really good job. Just trust in the process. You don't need a writing degree, which I don't have. You don't need anything but, your imagination. And of course, someone to help guide you in case, which I feel like that's every writer. Every single person needs, of course, a developmental editor, because you need that outside perspective, so that was kind of the process of that. It definitely, everything was a learning curve because I had to decide, do I want to go traditional or do I want to self-publish? And again, Erin helped me realize hey, you want to do a lot of things now. I think self-publish, I don't want to make this the choice for you, but self-publishing probably is the way to go, because just letting you know, you'll need an agent who contacts an editor, who contacts them, and just letting you know, all of that process could take anywhere between 2 to 5 years. Could be super fast. You could go super viral and people want you, but that's more on the rare side. It definitely could happen, but and then after that, it might not see shelves for another year to 2 years, depending. And I'm just like, not for me. That's not the vibe we're going for. So that's when I decided to self-publish, which was an entire beast, pun intended, in and of itself. How do I do this? What is the right way? Because I'm not going to do something half-assed. If I'm going to do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to invest the money, which, don't get me started about how much that process was, because it definitely was a pretty penny, still is. Definitely is not a quick quick scheme or whatever. It definitely is something that, you have to do it because you love it. And then hopefully the money will start coming in once you start producing quality work. I say quality because, we don't have AI up in here helping us out or anything. So, it's hiring real artists, it's hiring real editors, it's, researching on YouTube, seeing what everyone else is doing, the marketing. So don't get me started on all that. But luckily, this one has gone really well since publishing. I've got to do a special edition. If I had it out, I'd show you. It's really pretty. Special edition. I got contracted to work with, I can't say the story yet, but I got contracted with One More Chapter, who is part of HarperCollins. So that was really awesome. A few months after I published, she's like, yeah, we read your book. I'm like, you did? And you loved it? You loved it? That's crazy. So I'm working on a book for them currently. Their rough draft is, it's all these deadlines are coming up. It's crazy. And then I decided, of course, because I have to just do it all, to undertake an audiobook at the same time. So for this book, so this is my pretty cover. I have really cool special edition little painted edges. But for this, I have the audiobook with, for those who know, they know, but Jacob Morgan is my male narrator and Grace Noble is my female narrator. So it's going to be a duet, and that comes out October 3rd. I am so excited. Hopefully that's me going out for pre-order. Fingers crossed, August 29th. It's right around the corner. As long as we can get everything going and situated, then that'll be coming out soon. But for sure, that'll be out October 3rd. And Then after that, literally right after I, published that audiobook, I have another story. Literally, I'm hoping to publish October 31st, which is the Spicy Pinocchio retelling. And then after that, there's just so many stories that's coming after, and I don't want to overwhelm people, but definitely check out my website will have all the information on pre-order incentives if anyone is interested in more of the dark romance, fairy tale retellings, then that I would like to be known for. So those are definitely the kind of like where I'm at, how far I've come. I feel definitely a lot more up to the task of not being wasteful with my money. I definitely feel like there was a lot of opportunity that happened that I'm thankful for, but I didn't need at the time. I didn't need a big marketing team. Could have had if I had, ample money, yes. But it's not something that's necessary if you do not have the money. Spend that on getting a quality cover art. Because they say don't judge a book by its cover. Yes, you do. You do that every day. So that's a lie. Definitely get quality cover because people can tell if it's been made on Canva, and I'm not saying there's anything good or bad about that. It's just when someone looks at your cover, that is the first representation that they're going to get of your book. You want it to stand out. And, I'm looking at mine. I love it so much. And there's just so many things out there that, I feel like I could say for this, but I think I will definitely leave it there. But, audiobook, this book, and the Pinocchio story, that one's a lot of fun.
Is there any final advice that you want to give to any up and coming artists or authors out there that are listening to this podcast?
I have two pieces of advice. One, you cannot edit a blank page. Your first draft is going to suck because it's going to, and just write what comes in your head. Don't overthink it. Write it out. He said, she said, kind of dialogue. Get an idea. You just can't edit a blank page. That's the first one. And then dream big. People are going to say, well, don't dream big. You're going to give your hopes up. No. You think I'm not trying to, I actually would like to talk to you about film stuff after this, but I always tell people, if you think I'm not shooting for the star or shooting for the moon, you're wrong. I'm not doing all this hustle. I'm not being on all these podcasts. I'm not doing the 10 book signings that I've already done. I'm not writing all the books. I'm not sacrificing my money. It's not really a sacrifice, but I'm not doing all of this for nothing. I love writing books, and I'm writing it because I enjoy it, but I'm also doing it because I want to make this a career. In order to do that, you have to do the emails, you have to network and talk to people. And I'd like a movie being made of my book one day. It happens all the time. And so dream big, because my biggest thing is someone has to do it. Why can't it be me? A movie's gonna be made. Why can't it be my book? Book to movie adaptations happen all the time. So why can't my book be one of it? If you're gonna write songs, why don't you want to hear yourself on the radio? There's just so many outlets. Like, you're an artist, have a gallery. Maybe friends and family might show up for the first time, but that's fine. People showed up. So just put yourself out there because, again, somebody has to do it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Troubled Artists podcast. Have a great day.